How's it going, everybody? Welcome to OP Entertainment. I'm Omar Darwish.
And I'm Pratik Cherian.
And finally, we're reviewing Loki. Pratik, I know you're just as high on this as I am, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, overall, what were your thoughts on the episode? Let's start there.
Other than it being almost perfect, it's only one episode in, so I can't say it's the best Disney Plus thing we've gotten so far, but it's the best pilot we've gotten, including Mandalorian, including Falcon and Winter Soldier. I know it's hard to believe, including
Falcon and Winter Soldier had a great pilot.
It had a pretty decent pilot.
Let's not hate.
But even including WandaVision, because as much as I enjoyed WandaVision,
You hated the WandaVision pilot.
I didn't hate it, but I just wish that it gave us a bit more. This, right off the bat, I loved it. Everything about it. I love the tone. I love the world. I love the balance of humor and also like really deep, like cerebral questions and like philosophical questions about like what it means to be alive and like is our fate and destiny, like is everything set in stone, you know? Like I feel like we're getting back to those like questions that WandaVision kind of was, not the same questions, but deeper cuts than what we got, you know, with the previous one, not to hate on it. Go ahead and tell me how you disagree, Pratik.
I disagree with your takes entirely.
Oh my God. Yikes.
No, okay. So, general thoughts on the episode before we go in depth. I thought overall it did a good job as a pilot. I thought it was, it did a really good job of like setting the stage. I thought there was enough intrigue where there's a lot of different places this show could go, and I'm very interested in where it's going to take it. At the same time, I've got a lot of reservations about about those broader concepts that you were talking about, and this show and its ability to. God, am I doing Falcon and Winter Soldier? I feel like I said the same stuff during Falcon and Winter Soldier. No, I just have these questions about this show's ability to actually be anything more than just a fun adventure. That's kind of what it feels like.
You don't think that this episode? Are we doing any spoilers for this?
Was there anything to spoil?
I think kinda.
Loki's in it. Spoiler.
All right, minor spoilers if you don't want to know anything about Loki. We both kind of enjoyed it. But I think like just like with him like getting to see his like how his future would play out and like where it ends and like how it just says end of file, and when he's realizes that Infinity Stones are here and they don't even have as high a power as this TVA. I feel like that's really, and it makes him question, is my life set in stone? Like, am I ever going to be able to go back to my timeline? There's a lot of, I mean, I know that second question is not a question that we would ever have to answer probably, but I just feel like there's deeper.
The first question was?
What? As far as
any of those questions were thinking?
Is my life set in stone? Yeah, I feel like a lot of people wonder about their fate and destiny, and like if you throw a rock in the pond or in a stream or whatever, does it stop the stream? Does it change it, or does it always come back? You know, it's that whole philosophical question. Yeah. You don't ever wonder about like your life and if it's all a plan. Sure. Or not?
Okay,
like,
all right. I mean, go on.
But I'm just saying, like I feel like we're getting back to some serious deep questions. I think it's odd that you don't find that like that you're questioning if the show can do that when I feel like it already has started that at least. I
don't know. When it comes to like saying more about our world and the human condition and everything else, I put this show feels like it's at Falcon Winter Soldier level, maybe below that. Now, again,
it's bigger questions.
We're one episode in.
Yeah,
we're one episode in. Like there's not much going.
We've said for every pilot.
we're one episode in, so there's not a lot I can say, and I'll let it play out before I harshly judge it. But I don't know. I don't think this show's even trying to ask those questions.
Really?
And going back to what you were talking about as far as Loki, and a good portion of this episode was with Loki struggling with what his future self would be. And as much as I liked it, and I thought that Tom Hiddleston did a great job of really emoting in a way that any of us would feel when it came to seeing the way our life played out.
You get to see so much more of Loki than we ever have before, I feel like.
Yeah, at the same time, there were points in this where it almost felt like they were trying to cram however many movies worth of character development into this first episode so they can move on with...
Well, I think the purpose to that was because the Loki we know and love has experienced all these things, and this Loki hasn't experienced anything past Avengers. So they kind of needed him to know how his world is going to turn out to catch him up. It's kind of like giving that Loki the character development without him actually doing it.
That's not the way character development works.
No, you're right. You're right, but I think
can't
it's
just
also
watch a clip show and be like, oh, character development now.
But it shows Loki that eventually he does come around, and he does end up helping Thor, and he does end up like kind of being an anti-hero versus a villain. It gives him hope that he's not just a villain, which at the end of this, minor spoilers again, but that deep, it's not necessarily at the end, it's kind of a continuing thing, but the deep conversation he's having with, is it Mobius?
Yeah.
Dude, it's just those lines, just the lines they were throwing back and forth were better than anything we got from the past. I'll say Mandalorian or Falcon Winter Soldier. Other than WandaVision, I think this is some of the best writing MCU.
I'll agree with that. I thought that, to me, the standout of this show more than anything else was the dialogue. I thought this was...
It's not afraid to, not to cut you off, it's not afraid to not be action heavy, at least so far. This was all story for the most part and character.
We got both. There were enough decent action sequences in there. Nothing spectacular. Nothing to the level But again, that doesn't feel like what this show is trying to do. The show isn't trying to be action heavy, and
it's trying to be like a time detective.
Show.
It's
trying to be
kind of like Lucifer, Lucifer.
I was gonna say some sort of weird mix of Legends of Tomorrow and Doctor Who, but
yeah, Lucifer. If you've seen Lucifer, it's kind of like that. It's a detective with a quirky, otherworldly being helping her solve cases. Kind of seems like that's what this is gonna be. Getting to the case at hand, and again, kind of spoilers. Are we thinking that the figure we see at the end is Lady Loki? Or are we thinking it's going to be Tom Hiddleston as another variant of Loki?
I don't know. I mean, we've been told it's a Loki variant. Now, how exactly that manifests itself, and to be honest, we might even be jumping when we say that it's a Loki variant because he doesn't.
He does say that it's a Loki variant.
No, he doesn't. No, he said it's you.
Okay, well,
given the way that this show is playing around with time, I also wouldn't be surprised if it turns out that. I don't know. Do you buy that the Time Variance Authority is good?
Okay, that was my other bigger question about this. I think I'm going to be disappointed if we don't see anything from the Timekeepers or anything like that. I'm thinking there's this whole other agenda with this show about the Timekeepers not really being real or being evil or something because
all I know is anytime you have an authoritarian army that's dressed like Nazis, they're probably not the good guys. Probably not.
Yeah, it just seems weird. And Loki even brings up the question. He's like, you guys are all in charge of trillions of people's lives and the fate of what happens and stuff. And that just seems like, I don't know, dictator, totalitarian type stuff.
And even again during that clip show when we go back to his monologue in Germany in Avengers where he's talking about all of you people, you live your lives, and what you need is someone to give you purpose and help guide you. Mm-hmm. And if that's not what the Time Variance Authority is doing with time, you're not.
They're just mad that somebody else is trying to inflict their way.
So the whole thing just feels very evilly already. Evilish.
No, evilly. Hashtag evilly. We'll put it in the description.
There we go.
Let's go. So let's just go character by character then. Loki. I think this is the best version of Loki we've gotten so far. We get to really get under the skin of Loki more than I think we ever have. We've gotten little slivers of it, and they even showed in this when from Ragnarok when Odin calls him my sons and the look on his face.
I was gonna say I thought Ragnarok may have done a slightly better job, but again we're comparing Ragnarok the movie to episode 1 of of the Loki show. Gosh, I really hope that in the Loki show we get to see more Loki.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying for the first episode anyway, I think we got a lot more than I was expecting.
I think that character-wise, great. Mm-hmm. Tom Hiddleston was fantastic.
Always.
My minor complaint, I did think there were points in this episode where it kind of felt like he was on autopilot just a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, just a little bit. I don't know. There were definitely scenes where it's he's locked into this scene. And then there were some scenes where it's all right, he's just going through the motions because he's been doing this for 10 years.
I was kind of worried just a little bit of me that the Loki shtick would kind of get old.
Yeah.
So far it hasn't. And I mean, his timing, the jokes, when he's walking through the scanner and he's the whole thinking about man, I never thought about if I might be a robot. Would a robot know? That was so funny.
And see, that's him locked in, and that's the dialogue doing a lot too. That's the script, that's the writing. Hats off there. I have no complaints about the writing whatsoever.
Yeah.
As far as a dialogue level.
Let's go to Owen Wilson. Best part of the episode? other than Tom Hiddleston?
Yes, yeah, I think so. His Agent Mobius was really funny.
Yeah.
Funny, caring. This might be the best Owen Wilson I've ever seen.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Wedding Crashers?
Yeah, I don't know. I like this a lot.
I was trying to think of like an obscure, really bad Owen Wilson movie. The Internship? No?
That one was actually pretty good.
I like that one.
That one was funny. I liked it too.
Going on. I thought Owen Wilson was great in this. I thought he was really funny. I felt like I'm still not sure if he really wants to help Loki or if he thinks Loki can help him, and that's all this is.
I mean, if we're setting this up as like the buddy cop adventure,
Yeah.
their vibe definitely works.
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
us having questions about Owen Wilson's like mentality is fine. Like that's what you want. Are you using him or is he using you? Like, yeah. No, I love their dynamic. To me, that was their back and forths were the best parts of the show, and I can't wait to see more of that. That's what I'm most excited for, to be quite honest.
I was gonna say let's get into the next character.
Is there one?
The woman officer.
Sure. Okay.
I don't remember her name, but she was. I
don't think they ever named her.
She could have been a henchman. She could be really. Into
Basically,
it. Also, Kang's wife or girlfriend. The judge.
Okay.
Apparently, from the comics, she's like dates Kang the Conqueror or something, or is married to him or something.
Apparently, you know more than me. I defer
Look,
to you.
I am a comic book aficionado. I own about 10. But yeah, I think we're gonna get more development from those characters. But so far,
maybe not, because this also does kind of feel like these characters are. Was there anything from this episode that made you think like, oh, we're gonna dive deeper into this character or that character? They kind of feel like they're there just to serve their jobs.
Yeah, kind of how they explained Loki was kind of there to serve his job in his timeline. Like, he's not necessarily a villain, but he's just there to push. Kind of how the MCU treats their villains, or how they used to treat them in like Phase 1, Phase 2. The villain is just there as a plot point for the heroes to shine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the MCU literally just like told us that even in canon. Like, I think it's pretty meta. I think it's pretty cool.
It was good stuff. I enjoyed it.
As far as the world building and just the expanding the universe of the MCU, I think this was way more than I was expecting we were going to get, especially from the first episode. I wasn't sure that there was going to be any consequences on the main MCU timeline that we know, but now I'm thinking we might actually get some consequences on it.
So I enjoyed the world building overall. Something you had mentioned off camera, and I definitely thought while we were watching, like the first couple scenes where Loki's like getting processed, I guess, did feel a lot like the opening levels of an open world video game.
Yeah.
And like it was one that I'm like, man, I would love to play a video game that's set in this world where like you go on time adventures and stuff. It sounds like a fun game.
It sounds like a fun show.
With that said, like when it comes to like how this impacts the greater MCU, I know they've said that it will, and like there was teases to like multiverse madness,
for sure.
like that stuff. I couldn't care less,
Yeah.
to be honest. Especially when like,
Well, is it just because you want more contained stories, or because?
no, it's more because when, as of right now, what we know in this episode, you've got the Time Variance Authority, whose job it is to dictate the flow of time, right?
Yeah.
Which, in a lot of ways, just feels like everybody's story is a little predestined, which, unless this show ends with, like, the Time Variance Authority, like, being... like
Dismantled or something?
Dismantled, uplifted, unless we get more. Like, you basically kind of sort of rendered everybody's story as meh.
I think that's the question, though. Is everybody's story set? And I think that's what we're going to find out with at least how the MCU sees it, you know? And that's where the deeper questions come in. I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg with this stuff. So far, I'm hoping it could all go to
That's what I hope. But I feel like if they don't end it that way, then yeah, everybody's story is kind of moot at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if everybody's story, I don't know. I feel like I need more to like make me care about the greater MCU as a whole kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. All I know is I really want to see him reunited with Thor now, just because I feel like he's already been through so much in this first episode, you know?
Yeah,
maybe it's because we have so much sympathy and empathy for Loki as a character because we've seen his arc more, but
I almost wonder how much of that isn't just us wanting to get past the show and get Loki back interacting with like characters we know and love.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Because I definitely feel that too, but it's more like, okay, you saved Loki from death. Now, like, bring him back and let's see more Loki and Thor.
I gotta ask, where does this rank as far as your pilots for the MCU Disney Plus?
I hate ranking like pilots overall, because I think
You need to see once you see the full picture.
I think that every pilot's job is different based on where the show is going. So without me knowing where the show is going,
if you could think back to how you felt about the pilot of Falcon Winter Soldier and WandaVision, where does this rank up for you? I guess
probably somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got you. WandaVision being the high, Falcon Winter Soldier kind of being the low, if there was one, right?
Yeah,
okay.
kind of.
Okay.
I think.
I think for me, this is by far the best pilot.
Well, on that note, how about you score the episode? And
10. 100% 10. The only thing about the episode I didn't like was when Loki was like, you guys have the wrong person. I'm wondering why I'm here. And then the TV pops up and it's like, you're probably wondering why you're here and thinking you're the wrong person. And I was like, that's a bit too on the nose, but all right. That was literally it, though.
That animated sequence was really funny to me.
It was.
I
enjoyed like Hanna-Barbera type. Like
it did, while packing all the exposition into it. But
it was the equivalent of the scene in not Infinity War, in the first Guardians when he's the Collector's explaining the Infinity Stones.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, we just.
But in a much more enjoyable way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so,
but yeah, 10 for sure. The sound design, the cinematography of this episode was amazing.
The cinematography was great. The writing was great.
So good.
In a lot of ways, I'm happy that Marvel is like uncovering all of these gems, and we know the writer for this is doing Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
So like that gives me a lot of hope based on this one episode.
For sure.
With all of that said, if I were going to score this episode, I think I'd give it a 7.
7? Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, lot of exposition going on. I wasn't a huge fan of like the overall like character work. I thought that was crammed. As much as this did a great job of setting the table, I also thought that there could have been more, maybe a little bit. Like they could have done a little bit more with this. I wouldn't say this is perfect by any means. I loved Owen Wilson. Tom Hiddleston did a good job. Like I said, there were times that I thought he was kind of floating through it. The background characters were quite literally background characters.
I'll give you that. Yeah, they didn't have much.
Yeah, I mean, over. I don't want to make it seem like I'm not excited, because I am excited for where this is going to go. And after it's all said and done, I might look back at this pilot episode and be like, "Wow, like they actually did so much here that I didn't pick up on." But as of right now, how I'm feeling now, it's a 7. It's solid. It's good. I'd recommend it, but I'm not heaping high praise on it just yet.
I definitely recommend it. If you guys were on the fence about this, definitely go check this out. This is by far the best pilot for me. So, yeah. All right, you want to take us out?
Sure. Thanks for watching, guys. Tune in next week where we will come at you with the review of the next Loki episode. Wow, can't talk. Also, be sure to tune in on Friday for our movie news pod, and we'll see you guys then.
See you guys.